whether or not this is working or not, because it's all new and foreign stuff to us. And I mean, it says you click here at any time to view the post in YouTube. So apparently it's telling me, why do I have got two keyboards and I keep touching other stuff.
I'm told that you're live.
Well, good.
I shouldn't be told that you're live because I have my Wi-Fi off on my phone, so I have extra signal for us.
There you go. So yeah, it's kind of showing at least that we're live here. I just need to make sure that we're kind of muted. So hey, I guess if people are jumping in and they're joining us live, then they are more than happy to hop in on the chats. We're going to hope, at least with this system, that we can figure out what we are doing. Yeah. We really have no clue, but
no
that's
clue.
What we're trying. No
Absolutely
clue what we're
none.
doing.
It's like starting over from the beginning. I mean, you know, some of the ways and some of the ways that we interact with one another, we're good there. But the system that you're working with apparently is pretty touchy till we figure it out.
Yes, it is. It is touchy. It is finicky. It is having some issues. But I'm okay with that.
We wouldn't want to be bored now, would we?
Yeah, I
stay on our toes.
Now we're gonna try something here, and we're gonna see if this will actually work. So if I think we got a look at that.
What do we got? Hey, Logan.
Does it actually say that Logan? He says, "I have hopped in." So hey, apparently this is working. I'm gonna kind of reposition some of this stuff just to see if we can get some of it working, but I'm kind of liking this. I'm liking the way that this looks. I have no idea how to, oh, hey, apparently if I just click it, it goes away too. So new stuff, newfangled contraptions. We don't know what's going on here. But no, we're officially, I think this is going to be the official launch of the Vlogpastors podcast.
This is it? I'm unprepared. Let's launch it.
We have no idea. Although we'll do a little like Vlogpastors podcast episode 000 first.
There we go.
And then we'll jump into episode 1. We'll do them both right here. But here's what I'm wondering. We are called the Vlogpastors, right?
Righto.
It is a self-appointed title of Vlogpastors. What is it that a Vlogpastor is? How would you describe Vlogpastors?
Oh man, Vlogpastor. So obviously you're making a video log, or you're documenting what it's like to be a pastor and what it's like to serve a local congregation, that sort of thing. And you're doing so via Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, whatever medium you so choose. I would guess it's something like that. I've defined it a little differently in the past, but now I think circling the drain and honing it in a little bit further. Pastor is in the title. I kind of left it open before to anybody who wants to hop on, grab a camera, and talk about their faith. But the more that there are out there these days, the more specific I see that you and I, the function that we serve, we are welcoming people into the behind-the-scenes grind of what it's like to be called to a local congregation as the pastor, and we get to show people the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, all the ins and outs and in-betweens of serving in local ministry. What about you? What would you say?
I would say that is, it's definitely it. I mean, we know pastor and what pastoral ministry is, at least for the most part, what pastoral ministry is. And then so the other portion of that is, we're looking at the vlog aspect of it. And like you said, it's a video log. I think I've kind of joked around at times about the video log aspect. And essentially for me, I think of, like Captain Kirk and Star Trek, and it's like, Captain's log. And so because of that, that's kind of what how I see a vlog. So I see it being that thing that it's the video log. It's us kind of taking you on that journey and documenting the process as we go. So that's how I would see the Vlogpastors. So then I guess the question would be, what is the Vlogpastors podcast? And for me, because, I think it was mostly my brainchild, it's essentially two vlog pastors that are just having conversations about the stories and the strategies that we have when it comes to sharing the love of God, here in the digital world. Is that fairly accurate? It seems like what we've been doing when we do our combos.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say. I think for the layperson or the average, attender, a congregant to a church, you're going to find some inspiration and information, that sort of thing. You're going to taste and see the extravagant love of God. That's all going to be part of it. But it's specifically, I would say, geared towards those ministry leaders, the Henrys and the Dianas and the folks out there who are really pushing the envelope in video and in these mediums, social variety, just to see, kind of to have a dialogue around what does it look like to share your faith online, and what does it look like to lead out in that.
Right. Absolutely. So I think what people can expect from this podcast, if what I would like to do is I would really like to be able to encourage, like you said, those other ministry leaders. And we're not just talking pastoral ministry. We're talking any ministry leader. It just happens to be that when it comes to ministry, we serve in the office of the pastor. But I want to be able to encourage those ministry leaders, the Christian, and let me clarify. We're all called to ministry. We've all been given the ministry of reconciliation. So really, it's for each and every Christian out there, first, to realize you are in ministry, whether you realize it or not. And then for us to provide some source of encouragement to them so that they can actually share the faith that they have in Jesus Christ on the socials.
That's right.
Fair enough. Anything you can think of that we're not going to be able to discuss or talk, or what do you think? What can they expect? What can the listeners, the viewers of the Vlog Pastors podcast expect to see?
Guaranteed, because I am on this podcast, we are going to chase some rabbits together. Yes, we are. Mm-hmm. We're going to drink lots of coffee. We're going to chase lots of rabbits. And, the occasional serious sinking in of some deep issues, some deep thought through, and sometimes not thought through issues in the kingdom.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, I think that will be what we're going to, I'll take that little clip that we just had. I'm going to edit that down and put that on for the audio podcast. They're going to get episode 000.
Cool.
However, I'm thinking for us to get ready to start into episode 1, which in today's episode 1, what I want us to do is I want us to talk about how COVID-19 is impacting ministry, pastoral ministry, and ministry in general. And what are some of the things that we've been observing, seeing, and working through as a couple of pastors? So, you liking that idea?
Sure, man. I love that that's how we come up with all of our stuff, too. It's like, hey, today let's talk about this. And the other person's like, sure.
I'm liking that.
Let's do it.
And for some reason,
Welcome to the Vlog Pastors Podcast, a podcast all about the stories and strategies of sharing God's love in the digital world. Now, here are two pastors that love to put a camera in their face and walk around in public. They are the Chandler Bing and Joey Tribbiani of digital ministry, Jared Brown and Josh.
Is that off of your new? It has to be off of your new Mac.
It is off of the new Mac. And it says one thing is playing and the other is not, but it shows me both are playing and both have kind of frozen up on me. So it's going to be interesting because you can still hear me at the moment, but I'm not sure that anybody on the YouTubes can hear this. Maybe they can. Maybe they can't. We will find out here in a second when this actually catches up with me. That's the funny thing. Seriously, I'm looking at this. Your face is frozen and it's on your...
Oh, yeah.
See, there. They just saw it. Now they got it again.
Still frozen.
Yeah. All right. So here we're gonna try this again. We're going to try it, give it another run through, and see if by chance my newfangled technology actually works.
Give it a play. I'm ready for it. I want to see it.
It's not wanting to, is it?
This is my favorite, actually. If you'll let me say this before yours starts.
Grant's jumping on. He's asking, hey, is that the new Stream Deck? It is the new Stream Deck. and the new Stream Deck is giving me fits at the moment. But
this is fun to see because Joshua is usually like so well put together. He's got his live stream dialed in. So watching the learning curve for any of you out there who are looking for permission to fail, granted.
Fail, absolutely do it. You gotta take a risk on it. Grant's saying that we can hear you, and Genevieve is saying that was funny. I should also let Genevieve know that before too long, the floating coffee hand is going to need to make a return.
How do I make this happen?
It is going to have to happen. All right, so let's see.
That needs to happen in my house as well.
Let's see. I'm going to give this one more shot using my little Stream Deck, and let's see if I can actually get the Vlog Pastors Podcast intro going or not.
I'm going to text my wife for some coffee. Floating coffee hand.
Is it? Let's try this.
Of course, I may get splashed in the face with my coffee. Get your own.
Welcome to the Vlog Pastors Podcast, a podcast.
Who's in here? Who's in the comments?
And strategies
are we playing or are we not playing?
Love in the digital world. Now,
look at
here
me.
are two pastors that love to put a camera in their face and walk around in public.
I grade early.
They are the Chandler Bing and Joey Tribbiani of digital ministry.
I think they can hear.
JARROD Brown and Joshua Verwers.
For some reason, that thing's just not wanting to play. It's going to play like in the middle of when it shouldn't. But hey, I'll just let you guys know. It's awesome. That's what it is. It is absolutely amazing. I worked so hard on this thing.
Welcome to the Vlog Podcast.
How do you feel about your new Mac purchase?
At the moment, I'm not sure. Genevieve is saying leave it to a Mac and Stream Deck. Honestly, hey, even with the little glitch right now, I still think that it's working better than. I still think it's working so much better than my vMix was. But yeah, there we go. Wait, that's not the right one. It says there we go. Coffee hand. Coffee hand in the house is what it says.
Yeah.
So
who do you get?
All right, I'm gonna give it third time's a charm, right?
Hit it, and then we move on. Gets its chance.
Third time's a charm. We're gonna try this. Third time's a charm. Let's see if it actually works.
World premiere. Run it. Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Welcome to the Vlog Pastors Podcast, a podcast all about the stories and strategies of sharing God's love in the digital world. Now, here are two pastors that love to put a camera in their face and walk around in public. They are the Chandler Bing and Joey Tribbiani of digital ministry, JARROD Brown and Joshua Verwers.
It looks amazing. I'm telling you, it looks amazing. You guys can't really see it because I guarantee it's all glitchy, but it looks absolutely amazing, and I absolutely love it. But for some reason, it just does not want to happen, which, that's okay. It doesn't have to. It can sit there and freeze all at once. You guys can hear us. You know what's going on. We are here. My name is Joshua Verwers, for those that don't know. And right next to me is my good friend and fellow co-host, JARROD Brown. JARROD, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, my man. Doing pretty good. I'm enjoying the glitches.
The glitches are fun. We love technology. You know, I could have had a very professional looking stream setup, and it kind of is. And for some reason it likes my name, but it doesn't like your name at the moment. There we go. And I could have done a very professional setup, and I could have like highly produced this podcast, but quite frankly, I don't want to. And so for those that are listening and they're not watching us live, you can watch us live on Thursdays at about 10 a.m. when we're not running behind because, well, today we're running behind and we're facing technical difficulties, but that is quite all right. We love it. So we got some people in the house. We're just going to give some quick little shout outs for those that are in there. Logan is here, and Logan is saying,
hello, Logan.
We will have to wait and see it, is what he's saying. Genevieve is going to be bringing me some floating coffee hand here in a little bit. Grant Vissers, Pastor Grant, how you doing? All the way from Toronto. I think I saw a floating coffee hand for Jared. Jared got himself a floating coffee hand before I got my floating coffee hand. That was amazing. I love it. And it's even in the Starbucks mug. We've got PJ McNeil in here saying, my last Mac lasted 11 years. Probably gonna use that. Oh, Rona check and get a new one. I was like, turning my head sideways. I'm like, Rona check? I wasn't quite following, but now I got it. Chris Garcia in the house, and he's giving us some elbow bumps, Corona style. We can't do the fist bumps, so
nice.
I'm loving that. Deb Mama is in the house. She says, on my phone is perfect, but YouTube on the TV is frozen. We're going to blame it on the Mac because I can and because I want to.
Why not?
And that feels like what we should be, right?
I mean, shift the blame. That's what we do, right?
Yeah, shift the blame. It can't be me. It can't be my system. I mean, it could be the Mac. This is, for those that didn't see my vlog this week, it's new. It's a new Mac, and,
It's the dark side, and it's punishment for going there.
Right. Right. Yes. So looks like Deb is having more issues with the sound. I'm blaming it on your system now. It's not mine. Chris Garcia laughing it up. Hey, for those of you that are in the chat, if you guys have got any questions, any comments, anything you want, it can pertain to today's topic of, how we're dealing with COVID-19 when it comes to ministry and the impact it's making. It can pertain to that, or it can be absolutely anything you want. Go ahead and throw it in there. We will get to these questions and comments that you've got eventually. When we get rolling and we're in the middle of something, we're just going to keep rolling with that. But feel free to hit us up in the chat. So that's what we're doing. And for those that are listening, you can catch us live. Remember, Thursdays, 10 a.m. We'll be here for the most part.
Joshua, if you want to see a living example of what you were talking about today, we're living through it right now on this live stream. This has been one of the most significant pieces to ministry, for me anyway, in this whole COVID-19 thing. If you want to start it off, it's technical issues when people like you and me, this is the world that we live in. This is what we do. We make videos, we make online content, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe the outside work of toil, you have to put in a day's labor, that sort of thing, comes into technology, and we have to put in our due diligence as far as getting the stream up and running where it wants to crash, where the computers are, the things that normally happen and normally work without hitch are just bogging me down, man. And I don't know if it's the demand on all of the systems that we're putting on them, or if it's just a scheme of the devil, or what it is. I don't know, but it is frustrating as all get out. And for me, finding peace, which I had to call you a couple of times to get some prayer, but finding peace in walking this out has been monumental.
Right. Yeah, it's a struggle. And here's the thing. I've got so much sympathy for, other ministry leaders that are out there that are just starting their journey in this.
Yeah.
And they're just facing it. I've got a little bit of sympathy because, one, it's all foreign to them and they're not quite sure what to do and how to handle it. But then at the same time, they're not in as deep on the technical side as you and I are. And the more technical you get, the more advanced you get. Yes, it puts off a great polished product, we hope. But it's got the added level of technicality brings an added level of frustration.
That's right.
Because I'm just telling you guys, that little bumper, the intro that I have there, it is tight. It is on point. It is amazing. And we've got, nice little British voiceover that is giving us, shout outs and calling us the Chandler Bing and Joey Tribbiani of digital ministry. So
Floating Coffee Hand
is officially in the house. And apparently I have emptied an entire pot. That is what happens.
Your cups, they're like 32 ounces.
This is true. This is very true. Let's see. What have we got here? Micah is giving an elbow bump with hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
That is great. Logan jumping in saying he edited on the Mac last night in Premiere Pro is complex.
So you're the culprit. You're the culprit. You're the one who brought it down. There we go. Blame accurately placed. So yes. Logan did it?
Logan apparently did it.
There we go. I feel better.
Jason Mayfield, look at that, in the house on the stream. Jason saying, I'm opening and listening while working in my room. You can do that. You can listen. We are running out the bugs right now, Jason, on Ecamm, which means before too long, you are actually going to be joining on the Vlog Pastors podcast. So it's going to happen. And then we have got Matt Gutierrez, and he is saying, Josh, that is one gigantic cup of coffee.
It's truth.
And that is, my friend.
There was a meme that was going around that had a pot of coffee with a straw hanging out the top. And I thought there couldn't be anything more appropriate for Joshua. Just like a little pot with a straw hanging out the top. That's how he drinks his coffee.
And if you want to see what happens, seriously, go into your GIF keyboard, and it's GIF, not GIF, and search Joshua Verwers, all one word, and you're going to see, that's great, I created a GIF of me drinking coffee straight from the pot. It's your wife. Jessica actually gave me the idea. She's the one that inspired it, so you guys, I think you had mentioned it or shared it or something, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this. And so I did. But, okay, yes. So the added level of complexity that is happening with the digital ministry and stuff. Yep. And there's so many different things that we're tackling and we're facing. I mean, these are unprecedented times. I honestly cannot think of any time in history that we face something like this on the level that we've had. There have been plagues, there have been outbreaks, but they've all, for the most part, been isolated to a certain region of the world. It's not ran worldwide like it has because of our technology, because we're able to travel nonstop, hop on a plane and you're halfway around the world in just a few hours. Because of that, this is huge. And then even in our country, in the 238 years or whatever that this nation's been established, in all of that time, we have never had the government tell churches to stop meeting either.
Yeah.
And so we're navigating some tricky times, and pastors are having to make very difficult decisions that no pastor has ever had to make. And unfortunately, there are so many people that don't set in the office of a pastor that are trying to armchair quarterback or armchair pastor for them. And for me, it's like, you're responsible for your congregation and to pastor that local flock, not me. I'm not going to tell you what to do, and quite frankly, the government shouldn't be telling you what to do. Me personally, for mine, I think it's wise that we don't meet together. But at the same time, for those pastors that are, you know what? It's like, if that's what you really feel is best, I'm not going to try to poke and fault find and say that you shouldn't be doing something, even though I personally myself wouldn't be doing it. Because I haven't heard from God about your congregation because I'm not you. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, it like you said, just to blanket it all with grace, we've never seen something like this. Coming from, a military background, having wars and rumors of wars and, outbreaks and Ebola and all sorts of things where our attention was focused on something. We've never experienced fear grip the world like this. I don't know, and it's a legitimate outbreak. It's a legitimate issue. People are dying. That's a real thing. It is a legitimate fear. But I've never seen fear grip the entire world where we all have closed into our own rooms and shut the door. Now, are we going to look back in 6 months and go, man, thank goodness we all went inside and closed the door for a couple of months and we really weathered the storm there? Or are we going to look back in 6 months and go, what was that about? My dad and I were talking this morning, and he said, we're the generation that hid under our desk just in case of a nuclear attack. And he's like, how crazy was that? Like, what was the plan there? What was the plan in place that we would not be shadows on the wall if there was a,
Right.
It's like, it was just fear gripping our nation. But I've never seen fear gripping the entire world like it has. And it's changed things. I don't know, our particular region, we're on shelter in place. And we've spent the last 2 days as the body, not just my individual church, but the ministerial alliance coming together, praying through stuff with our governmental officials. And what they've said is, we can't force you not to meet. It's part of your rights to assemble. Mm-hmm. It's part of your religious freedoms. But we beg you, this is not a good idea. Is there some sort of consensus you guys can come up with, and still respecting everybody's autonomy? We did all willingly come forward together as one, and we stepped into the city council meeting with our representative, our president, our Ministerial Alliance president, who walked in and said, on behalf of the churches of Stephenville, Texas, and in submission to God Almighty, we feel like collectively we're supposed to not meet. And it was just such a oomph for the city council to kind of have some peace about, okay, because around here, we're not Canada. We still have a huge respect for the believers and what happens,
right,
when the believers call upon the living God. So when the city government says, okay, the Lord's going to be okay with this, they're going to be praying for us, but they're going to abide by the rules. It was just such a shot in the arm.
Yeah,
But it's different times for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, I personally know a couple different pastors that during this time, they're still meeting. And part of it is, one, it's a little bit in defiance of the government trying to do that, which, I mean, I get and I understand. But another part of it is, and the biggest part really, is that sincere conviction that they have not to forsake the assembling of themselves together. And when I hear that, it's like, I understand why you're doing it, because you've at least thought out the why and you've figured that out. And so that's one of those that when I see that, it's a different decision, it's a different conclusion that I would come to. But I at least appreciate the fact that they're thinking about these things. And this wasn't just a rash decision. It wasn't something they just threw out there and said, oh, well, we're going to do it and we don't really care. No, they actually thought about it. One that I was just thinking about, honestly, and it just happened this week, is Rodney Howard-Browne down there in Florida.
Saw that, yeah.
And so he gets arrested because they still met. And I rarely watch media and what they're doing, especially online, because you know what? There is something about fake news. Not that all the news is fake, but all news stations, I don't care if it's a left-leaning or a right-leaning news station, they're all leaning one way or another. So they're all giving you news from their perspective. And there's an element of truth in it, but not the whole truth that's in it. And so I usually wait to hold out judgment until I've seen things. And then when I started to figure out all of the things that their church did to make sure that they were still making sure that there was the social distancing. They had sections inside the auditorium that were separated out by at least 6 feet, so family units were not, going in each other. They made hand sanitizer available for every single person that came through the door. They spent, I don't remember how many hundreds of thousands of dollars to put in a top-of-the-line air filtration system in that place. And they were taking every precaution they could so that they could still meet but stay safe. And to me, it's like, if somebody's going through that level, to me, that's a conviction. That's where they're saying, we want to assemble. We want to be together. They weren't mandating that their people, if people wanted to stay home, they were still allowing that and still going to stream it for them. But for those that were wanting to come, they made it available and they made it as safe as they possibly could. And to me, I'm sitting there and I'm looking, I was like, these guys took more precaution than our grocery stores do, and we have no problem violating the safe distance in our grocery stores. And it's like, really? I mean, I've even been to, the super centers and seen what they're doing. They're not even coming close. I mean, the closest that I've been to personally that did what their church did was Costco. I mean, I went to Costco, and yeah, I'll give them a shout out because, man, they did a great job. You walk in, they've got a completely separate door that you have to go through. They've got barricades up, and they're hurling around like a cattle. And they've got extra staff there sanitizing every single grocery cart for you.
That's awesome.
And then throughout the entire place, they've got little things, signs up all over the place. Maintain 6 feet. You go to the checkout lanes, and they've got little stickers that are sitting there on the floor, which I think that was something else that Rodney Howard Brown's church did. They had like floor placards on there too to make sure that people were, maintaining that distance. That type of level is somebody that's like, hey, we've still got to maintain business. We've still got to kind of go through what we're doing, but we understand that there is something real out there, and we just want to do whatever we can to take precautions so that we're not completely off the deep end.
Yeah.
To me, that's, again, here's another church that I'm not going to pass judgment on. Would I have done it? No. I mean, obviously, we've not done that. We've stopped our physical meeting of services, even our home groups, and I had kind of told everybody that does home groups for us, when it was 10 or more, if your home group has 10 or more on an average, don't do your home group. And then when it went to 5 or more, it's like, hey, no, we don't have any home groups. I kind of joked about the 5 or more, and I'm thinking, man, I've got to get rid of one of my kids.
Yeah.
But it's yes, I'm making light of that, and I'm kind of joking. But for me, I'm sitting and looking at this and thinking, we need to understand that I am not the other pastors.
Right.
And for me to even try to assume that I know what they're thinking and what they're believing, you can break up that assume, and that's what you're doing, because you're not them. You don't know. Make your snap judgments all you want, but quite frankly, you don't sit in their position. You haven't been told by God what to do in their position. And that's where in this moment, I try to take like that 1 Thessalonians 4:11 approach, and I'm going to mind my own business. Yeah. I'm going to be trying to live peaceably. I'm going to try to work with my own hands and do what God has called me to do, and stop trying to armchair pastor what somebody else has been called to do. I know my opinion on this may not be the popular opinion on this, but I really think, especially in this time that we have, we need to be showing a lot more grace and a lot more mercy with people.
Now, I can get on board with that. I can get on board with that all day.
And it's like, we have to extend that grace and say, hey, I may not do this, but I'm not going to try to, pass judgment on you. If that's what you do, by all means. Now, do I think there are pastors out there that are doing this for the wrong motives? Absolutely. Do I think that Rodney Howard Brown is one of them? I don't know. I don't know the guy's heart. I don't think so, just because I see all the precautions that they were taking. That's not my initial judgment. If I just listened to mainstream media, then absolutely that's what I would be thinking. After I read the press release that I think it was Liberty Institute, which is they're basically representing him in this case as his attorney, when they released their press release, and I read all that, it's like, you know what? There's a lot more to this story than we saw.
That's the thing about it, though. I mean, I even hesitate to bring it up on this podcast because, or my side of it, I'm not going to have an opinion about it, like you said, because I think even stating some of the examples of, he put in $100,000 air filtration system, just it's going to cause people to decide one way or the other. Oh, I believe you should, or I believe you shouldn't. And it's like, man, none of us had to hear from the Lord as to whether to meet, what precautions to take, all that stuff that Rodney and his team had to do, which we all had to do. Yeah. And I'm noticing something in the body, unfortunately, that we're bringing out or bringing into our quarantine. The biggest thing that's awesome is we're mobilized and we're on it together. But the thing that's kind of lingered is a little bit of competition and a little bit of backbiting and a little bit of armchair quarterbacking from fellow pastors and congregations. And it's like, guys, we have a chance to start over and start clean and fresh. I know that's going to be it's a part of humanity. It's a part of the fallenness of this world to kind of nitpick and armchair quarterback. But man, we have a real opportunity to band together as one unit and move forward. Individual flavors for sure that are all going to rise to the top, but one solid body and extend massive amounts of grace to one another. And we seem to be regressing a little bit. So anyway, that's why I hesitate to bring something up about my opinion, my stance, because I don't really have one for Rodney. I didn't hear the Lord on behalf of his church or what he needed to do.
Yeah, and I think it's a little, I mean, I probably take a much different opinion on this than many, partially because of where I'm located. I'm here in Iowa. Iowa is the political epicenter. Whether you can think that it's Washington, D.C., no, it's Iowa. We get 1 out of every 4 years off from politics, where you guys only have 1 of every 4 years with. Now in Texas, I mean, you guys you're definitely politically involved as well. But in Iowa, I mean, you think about it, some of the most right-wing conservative decisions that have ever been made started in Iowa. Some of the most left-wing liberal decisions that have ever been made started in Iowa. We have the polar edge of the spectrum, and there's always this battle that's going on. And it's not just with the U.S. representatives, and it's not just that we have every political candidate that runs for office stopping here before they see anybody else. We do this in the state house. We do this on the local level. I mean, we're highly involved. And because of that, there's a lot of those political ramifications that we're very aware of and we go into. And I am fairly active in the arena, and I love to go up to our state house. I love to pray with our legislators. I love to help out whenever we can. But because of that, I personally know a lot of these pastors, and what I'm seeing is like the decisions that they make are the same decisions that Rodney Howard-Browne makes. But yet I know these guys on a personal level, so I know their heart. Right. And I know their heart is not what's being portrayed in the media, which leads me to the assumption and citing on Mercy and Grace that maybe Rodney Howard-Browne's heart is more like these pastors' hearts that I know rather than what the media is trying to portray. And that's where I think it's really important for us. Like you said, it feels like we're regressing a little bit because it's happening. And the crazy thing is, it's what happens in church all the time. You always have members of your church that are trying to pastor for the pastor. And they're like, oh, well, I think we should be doing this, and I think we should be doing that. And it's like, well, that's great. As soon as God calls you to this office, well, then he can tell you what to do. But now we're seeing it on a much grander scale, because now it's not even you're doing that with your own church. You're trying to do that with every other church. And it used to be when it came to the other churches, it was mostly other denominations that were kind of bickering and backbiting. And now it's inside their own denominations or non-denominational leanings. So it's just an interesting time. I want to jump in here and get some of the comments. I know we've been reading through some of these, and I'm sure there's going to be some other things that are hopping in here. Let's see. Yes, Jason Mayfield saying, meh. He's not convicted about the assembly of the believer. He's convicted about the Constitution and making sure he maintains a right-wing voice. Jason says, I'm not normally targeting a minister publicly, but I don't think that Rodney Howard-Browne is standing up for the believer, his church, or the Lord. I'm going to go. Jason's got a couple more here. I want to give him his whole say before I respond.
Joshua, I love this guy.
I love Jason Mayfield. I love him dearly.
Jason Mayfield. We need more Jason Mayfields in our life.
We do. This one, he's saying, if he was preaching the gospel in these services, maybe. I watched. It was, let's talk about our right to be here, which is like talking about your ability to eat at McDonald's while eating at McDonald's. Fair. And here's the thing. I may not completely agree with everything that Jason is saying.
That's the beauty of Jason. You're like, oh,
it is.
Ouch. That was beautiful.
The beauty of Jason. Here we go. PJ McNeil. That church is an old car dealership. It's a big building. I've been there once back when I lived in Tampa. Yeah, it is. It's a massive building. I haven't been there, but I do know people that attend that church. Augie Miller, I think we go to what the church did for the Spanish flu, what the church did for polio. There was a lot of great insight for generations before us. lot of great insight for generations before us to help see beyond ourselves, I think is what it's. Yeah, that definitely. Know the fight hopping in here. It's a fine tuning in our spirits of what to do. Some will gather, some will go, but the gospel is never bound.
That's good.
Yeah. And then PJ, there's only 10 people in our church anyway. We are still meeting if people want to. This past Sunday, it was just the pastor and his wife, his son, and me. We all love in the same house. And our boy Henry hopping in. There are always people trying to be the pastor, but do not want to put any work. I don't believe they know the battles that they have to go through, the spirits that they have to fight. Yeah, there's a lot of that. And it's one of those things that even being a pastor, I'm a pastor, Jared's a pastor. We're currently actively in pastoral ministry, overseeing a congregation. Yep. But I couldn't even fathom what it's like to be Jared with his congregation.
Same.
Completely different people, completely different culture, completely different environment. Everything is different. I mean, just one little variable. And that's the thing. I think oftentimes we don't think about that. We don't think about like the domino effect. Like what would happen if one thing came out? You know, if you just change one little, or what, like the butterfly effect, I think was that movie where it's like if one little thing, the ripples that it could cause.
Yep.
And that is so true. And when it comes to that, it's like, I don't know. I don't know what this one thing would do. I have no clue. I'm not in.
Well, think about it this way. I would dare to believe that the Lord speaks to you quite a bit differently than he speaks to me. It's the same voice. It's the same still small voice. It's the same one who's prompting, moving, motivating. But the way that he interacts with you is shaped entirely different than the way that he interacts with me. I would argue that Jason Mayfield probably gets a much more blunt response from the Lord, a loving correction rather than, for example, my father-in-law, whenever the Lord disciplines him, it's hard. It's harsh, but you kind of go, that's the Lord, man, because he needs it. He's a tough, hard-headed individual, and he needs a good kick in the pants every now and again. If the Lord said that to me, it would crush me.
Yeah.
It would crush me. I don't have I do have a hard head, but I don't have the same thickness that he's weathered 60 years in,
Yeah.
So we all have our own unique ways, and it's the same with the church. One tiny variable can change the whole thing.
Absolutely.
Still the Lord.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love pulling up Jason's comments because they're so fun. So I'm going to pull up another one here. He says that he wanted interviews. That's why he had his lawyer ready, turned himself in voluntarily, and let people know he'll be doing the new station round when the attorney signs off. Yeah, I mean... Now, here, let me play pastor's advocate. Many years ago, I faced a moment that is defined by law as religious persecution, where I was fired because of my belief, and it was definitely a wrong firing. Like when I had a signed document from the vice president of the company that said I never had to work Sundays, and then they started forcing me to work Sundays, which I didn't show up, and then eventually fired me. That being said, the day I got fired, I made a phone call, and I had the Alliance Defending Freedom ready to represent me like that. So it's not like I had them on retainer. I just made a quick phone call, and I had them. And because I did that, it wasn't 48 hours later that I had a local radio station calling me asking for an interview. That was never my heart, never my intention, and I eventually just dropped the lawsuit because the guy who had fired me came, asked me for forgiveness, and repented, and I was able to lead him to the Lord, and I figured, hey, if God's forgiven him at this point, I might as well go ahead and do it anyways. Now, I know very many Christians that said I was an idiot for dropping that lawsuit because I could have been very well financially off at this point. But again, that was my conviction. It was my decision to make. So I want to play the other side of this. And here's where I think if I take a broad approach, really in this whole moment, when we're hearing things about other pastors, especially the Rodney Howard-Browns of the world that are doing this, I think the best lesson that you and I can take from this is to really think about our own motives and what we do, because we start to question his motives. What did he really want? What did he really intend? And that's where we can question our own in everything we do and sit there and say, you know what, the same type of scrutiny that I am putting this guy through, do I put myself through that? Am I going to put my own actions through that type of scrutiny? And I think that could be one of the best lessons that we could have in this moment, to really sit there and be more self-reflective and examine what's going on. Is this what we should be doing or not? Am I making decisions based out of my flesh or from my faith? I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I got a couple more that I want to pull in here. Spencer Patton jumping in and saying, "Hey, vlog pastors." Spencer,
what's
good
up?
to see you. Glad you're here. Augie saying, "Dude, can't put my feet in our shoes, and I don't know the..." And then the comment got cut off.
Oh, bummer.
But, and Goody, meeting at this time is just not smart. I would never want a spread of the virus simply because I wanted to meet on Sunday. And you know, Goody, that's me. I'm the exact same way. I'm the exact same thought. I would never want that. And I don't understand those that do. But I also am not going to try to understand them. And because I don't want to try to understand that, I'm also not going to try to, armchair pastor them. And I'm just going to say, you know what? You do you. I'm going to do me. And you know what? In the end, we love each other anyways. So that's kind of my thoughts. Any other thoughts on that aspect of it, Jared? We kind of took a little bit of a tangent on that with kind of coming down where we're facing some unprecedented things. Do you have anything you want to wrap up on that thought before we jump into the next little topic I want to talk about?
If I can get it pulled up here. I'm trying to pull it up on my cell phone, but since I cut off the Wi-Fi to help out, I may have to pull it up on the computer. But just kind of in that whole vein of extending grace to other pastors and believers, I have a friend. I mean, it's not just like a random acquaintance or anything. A friend, a fellow minister in town, and along those lines, I was reading something, and I'm working with a lot of small church pastors who have not had the ability to come online yet, and so we're working through producing videos for them so that they can meet the needs of their small local congregation, and they're figuring it out, and they're scared, and they're not used to it, and their focus tends to shift towards quality and those types of things, but they're in the fight. They're doing the best they can. They're not mega churches and whatnot. They don't have all that going on. Well, a buddy of mine, he made a post, and I'm not going to call him out, but he says, "Pastor, I don't know if you guys have seen this." He says, "Please listen. If you're filming your production, your online worship, etc., is getting the best of your time and focus, you've missed it. No one who's hurting cares about how cool your video is or what new idea you have. Serve your city, love your neighbor, care for the least of these," which I 100% agree with. And all of these smaller church pastors, they all have some form of they're loving on their community, they're loving on their fellowship as best they can. It digs me when we say things like this to one another, where it's like, pastor who is trying to figure out what's going on in this world, hey, get out of the mud of trying to go online. Well, that's the opposite. That's these guys who are barely getting out there, who are trying to figure out how they're going to stay in contact, how they're going to reach their community in this new world, because who knows how long we're going to be here. They're trying to figure it out. That other pastors say, "Come on, dude, why you spend all that time?" Well, we don't have a team. These guys don't have a team in place.
Yeah,
and they're having to figure this out, and it just didn't feel helpful. So there's stuff like that going on in the body that just irks me, guys. We're better than this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I had a post that somebody, myself, posted that was one of those "Hey Pastors," and I'll go ahead and read it. I said, "Hey Pastor, if you took the message that God gave you and delivered it to your church today, please allow me to say thank you. I'm proud to stand beside you as you navigate these unique situations and strive to fulfill the call God has placed on your life. You will get no criticism from me. You will get no armchair pastoring from me. I don't care if your church met in person, online, or both. I only care that you are trying to do what God has told you to do, and I understand that conversation was between you and him, not me. So you will not hear me thinking I know what's best or better for you. This is just thank you. Thank you for listening to God, and thank you for loving your church, and thank you for leading the way that God has equipped you.
Bro, send me that. Send me that right now. I'm sharing the mess out of that.
It's just like, guys, just do what you do. And that's kind of the crazy thing. It's like, I'm not going to complain. Quite frankly, especially in these times for pastors, and I'm seeing a lot of pastors do that, especially in this time, you've got more important things to do than to worry about the church down the street or the church halfway around the world. You've got a congregation that is also facing these things, and they're needing help, and they're looking to you, and they're missing things, and they're wanting some things, and they're needing some things. And anything that is dividing your attention away from meeting those needs, even the armchair pastoring, can be a problem. Even the online video, and I get that. At the same time, it's like, if they can't get to your church, if they can't hear the word that God is putting before you, and I'm just going to be flat out brutally honest here. Pastors, if you're listening and you're not putting your message online, I guarantee your church members are getting a message. It's just not from you. They're going to get it from somewhere else, and they may be getting it from me, and you may not want them to have the message that I'm giving. So it's like, you might think about this and say, I don't want you to listen to Josh. Don't be listening to that guy. He's a little crazy.
Oh my goodness.
They're going to listen to somebody. And so that's where it's like, put that out there. And even if you can't do video, at least do audio. Grab your phone and record into it. I mean, seriously, you setting your phone in your breast pocket of your button-up shirt or your suit jacket, that would be good, because the closer you can get that microphone to your mouth, the better. And it'll work. You just got to think outside of the box, and you got to do something. Speaking about thinking outside of the box, here's what I want to know. I want to know something. But before we get to that, I see this, and I've got to pull this up. This is absolutely hilarious, because can you guess who it's from?
I'm going to go Jason Mayfield.
Jason Mayfield. This is awesome. He says, if I can get my MacBook to work, I'm going to armchair pastor him hard. I've got my teeth sunk in, and this is rare for me. You do it, Jason. You armchair quarterback that one. He's saying, I love these broadcasts. Harley Pebley in the house. That is a great message. It should apply to everyone in the body, not just pastors. Amen, brother. Youth pastor Dustin Pickens. Totally truth. Amen. Here we go. Mama saying, just a quick comment about showing grace. Pray for each other.
That's good.
As a worker in a grocery store, my perspective is some, not all people are getting tired, and showing grace can be really challenging.
That's good.
Absolutely. Harley is saying, or you could also go old school and use a tape recorder. Absolutely. Do they still make tape recorders? But if they do, you can definitely use it. And honestly, here's one of my biggest things. Here's what, if I can just preach to the preacher right now.
You're going to do it anyway, so just go.
Ask somebody for help. Stop thinking that you as the pastor know everything. You're in uncharted territory right now, and you may not be the smartest person when it comes to putting this online. If you've got a teenager, ask a teenager and say, hey, what's going on? Speaking of which, Logan is saying that the light is reflecting off your skin. Are you telling me that I need to start applying makeup for my broadcast?
Oh, please.
Jason Mayfield needs to be the tweet highlight. We're going to start running this show as like a almost like a talk show. And so, what is it? Jimmy Fallon that does the, This Week in Twitter type of a deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. That's going to have to happen. So
I can't wait to see this makeup.
Yes. But it really is. I'm feeling a little greasy and shiny at the moment. Here's what I'm wondering. What are you, because I just mentioned thinking outside of the box, right? You need to think outside of the box. You need to start to get creative, which is very difficult for us as Christians, because as much as we know that God has sent the comforter to us, which why would he send a comforter if you're supposed to be comfortable? you're going to be uncomfortable, which is why he wants to comfort you. But we love our comfort. So we as Christians tend to revert to that feeling of, I want everything comfortable. I want everything to stay the same. I don't like change. We can't do this. We have to change. We have to start thinking outside of the box. We have to get creative. I want to know from you, what are some of the things that you've had to do in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it's been, to get creative and help pastor your church? What are some of those things that you're kind of navigating through? Anything new that you've been doing?
No, not really. Just trying to work out some of the technical kinks on some aspects, but that's been part of the cool thing about this COVID-19 issue is we are challenged to be incredibly creative. And that's been fun to see it all bubble up to the top. That's why, like right now, you're not, what's that called? Plagiarizing. You're not plagiarizing. If you see somebody doing something cool, try and replicate that as best you can. I dare you. It's not going to look the same. It's absolutely fascinating. So we as a church, we've been trying to do, first week, first right out of the box, we tried to have everybody go live because our service is very multifaceted in the respect that we have a bunch of people who bring the meat and potatoes, certain people who pray, certain people who prophesy, certain people who worship, certain people, it's a whole corporate thing. Well, we wanted to keep that same flair, so we had everyone go live the first week. That was a disaster, because no one knew what was happening next. We just hopped on the group page and everybody started going live. There was lots of space in between, so other people would go live before the last person went live. Anyway, it was a mess. The next week, we decided that we were going to assimilate all of the videos, all the lives, still same style, but we would just record it a day or two earlier and then compile it into one thing and do a launch party. So we did that on Facebook. We did some stuff on YouTube, started incorporating a Sunday school for kids. So we have some of the folks who like to work with kids doing some teachings, which have been really, really good. And this week, we've had some real trouble with our audio on our worship team. And that is a pain. That's a frustration of mine. So this week, our main goal and focus is to get our worshipers where we can at least worship alongside them. They cut out for like 10, 15 seconds, and it's a little hard to keep that going. So anyway, things like that. And then every time we get finished with a recorded clip, we try to go on live afterwards and hang out. Like last week, Jesse and I, we hung out playing Uno, praying for people. So we just went live on our, I can't remember if it was page. Actually, we went everywhere, didn't we, last week on accident?
You did. You went everywhere.
I plugged in the wrong key, which I was telling Joshua, I'm like, I don't know why it keeps on going off to everyone, all my Facebook community. I just want the church. And I was plugging in the wrong key for it. Stream key, and so I was broadcasting to everybody while Jesse and I were playing Uno and praying over people. I'm sure that was super disrespectful to some, but that's just kind of our culture. We're playing Uno, and then if somebody has a prayer request that came up, then we tackle it. But that's some of the basics of what we're doing and kind of what we're advising. Just real simple, grassroots, really doable for anybody with a cell phone. If you have multiple people who are involved in a service, that's kind of what we're doing. We're going to head more towards a not polished, but up in the production a little bit in the coming weeks. Yeah.
Good.
What about you?
Yeah, for me, one of the things that we've really kind of, jumped in on that I did early, and this was, it was like the week one where we didn't meet. I tried this, and it was a little daunting. I decided I'm going to do a sermon vlog style. So I just completely jumped on it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of set the camera like I would normally do my vlogs and just talk directly into it. Because for me, part of it was I wanted it to be different in the method, the mode that I was giving this message. I also wanted to make sure that my audio was on point and the video was good, that people could see it, that they could hear it. For me, it's knowing my strengths, and my strength is not worship. My strength is really the word. It's preaching. And because of that, I was like, hey, I'm going to focus on this. I'm just going to try to go ahead and preach this the best I could. So that's one of the big things that I did early on. Week 2, we decided we're going to throw in a little bit of worship on there. And so, grabbed an iPad. We use icing worship down at the church. So I grabbed that. set it up, projected it to my TV, had my girls in there. Just a little footnote for those of you out there that are trying to stream. Please do obey copyright laws and get yourself a streaming key for that if you're going to be doing it. It doesn't cost that much extra if you're already using the CCLI license. So that's what I did, and I just hopped on, got that, put that in there. And then this week we did a small group on Tuesday night. We just hopped on Zoom, and we were able to get even a couple of our members that they don't have video access. And so I pulled up the phone number and I gave it to him and I said, hey, call in. Here's your access code to get in and you'll be able to jump in on the meeting. And they did. And it was good. I had to be a little more strategic about it. And so if you've ever done a big group call on Zoom, especially with people that aren't very familiar with Zoom, everybody wants to talk over each other. So I just flat out told them, hey, I'm going to run this. I'm going to kind of organize it. I'm going to mute everybody. And I'll let you know when I'm going to call on you, what I'm going to be asking ahead of time so you can think about it, and then I'll unmute you. And it worked really well. I think they really enjoyed it. We had a great time of, finishing that one off with lots of prayer. And then, my son had mentioned that he had been editing a video yesterday. And
awesome.
So he was actually editing. We decided to do a puppet skit. And we don't do puppet ministry at the church, but I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what can we do for our kids? We didn't really have anything in there. And so it was like, all right, well, let's try this. And so I had my wife just kind of hit record. My kids did it. They read it. They were the puppets. And then Logan wound up editing it. So I didn't have to really do anything on that. Man, it was good. I'm hoping to upload that to our church page this afternoon. Yes, Floating Coffee Hand is back for
there it is.
A repeat. And that's kind of what we wound up getting done with that. So that's the big things. And we've got people in our church that I have to just love on them so much because they are calling and they are reaching out and they're trying to encourage one another. Because a lot of them are understanding that I am very spread thin at the moment.
Right.
And I love that they're picking up that slack and they're really trying to help.
That's something that we've done. We have a young adult group. We grabbed our young adult group and we've been assigning people who are over 60 to be called, checked on if they need anything from the grocery store, that type of thing. Yeah. And that's been cool because you get to take care of your older folks, but those older folks have stories, they have life experience, they have faith-filled, they're ready to rock and roll. So they're getting to pour into these younger people. And I told the older people, hey, when you get them on the phone, when you get these young adults on the phone, tell them anything the Lord prompts in your heart to tell them. You've got them there for, 10 minutes, just dumping on them. So that's been pretty cool. That's been working out.
Nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Anything that you're wanting to try? Anything new that you can think of that you've been wanting to try out in this season that you're looking at doing?
Yeah, I just jumped in on the group that you guys are a part of. What's it called? Video something. Value with video. Yeah. Value with video with Trey Van Camp. That's been fun. So I'm looking at making some videos for the community. Just we have a lot of fear mongering around in the community. A lot of just depression, and video, at least on Facebook, Instagram, those types of places in our community isn't that strong yet. And so whenever somebody does put out a negative style video, it's a heavy hitter. And I want to bring some positivity to our community. So I'm going to start making some videos for the church and then boosting, not for the church, like we're the church, but just positive, we love you, we're here, we're praying for you type content. Yeah. That out there for our city.
Yep. A couple more comments we'll pull up here. Jason saying, wow, that's the solution for seniors. Stream your service into Zoom and they can call in. Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of a great thing. And I was going to take kind of what you guys had done is my plan for this Sunday, Jared, where you posted your video. It was all pre-recorded and everything. And then you hopped on like a chat afterwards. And so that's something I'm going to try to do with our people this week is do that. Hop on Zoom afterwards. So once the message is over, then we can hop on. And really just kind of whatever. Basically, that's one of the things that I miss about our church services is I may only preach 35 minutes, but then I'm hanging out after service for like another 2 hours.
Yep, talking with people.
So yeah, definitely good.
That's something, you said, is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah.
I loved hanging out, Jesse and I playing Uno, praying for people. That was cool, but I really want to see faces. So in addition, we might do like a Zoom call type of deal. There's certain people like live and certain people like Zoom. That way, I think if we hosted a live, we could have Jason and Danielle or somebody host a Zoom call after.
Yeah, and for me, I wound up with what we did is I did it. I went ahead and I paid for the extra for the Zoom. The next one up, I don't remember what it is, but it basically gives you, like you can have up to 1,000 people in a call for up to 24 hours. And then it allows you to record it. And so I actually recorded our small group, and then we've got a private Facebook group for our church, and I'm going to upload that as well with the prayer requests for those that are in that group. But then also, like for Sunday, it'll be able to work. The other way, you could use the free one, and I think you can have up to 100 people in the free for up to 40 minutes. So, I mean, if small church ministry and they're like, hey, we just don't have it in the budget right now. I didn't think we did, but then I realized, hey, we're not meeting at church, which means we're not drinking the coffee and we're not wasting the cups. So we do have it in the budget for the next few weeks. I figured what we're spending on that month, we spend more than that in coffee at our church, usually just me. But that's kind of the thing. And if you're free, if you just want the free plan, run it for 40 minutes and say, hey, I got to end this, and we'll start a new one right back over. And so there's workarounds for that stuff. So I love that. Henry had said they use Zoom too. If I pull this up, he said, this past Tuesday, my pastor had a virtual Bible study and he went live on Facebook. I facilitated it on Zoom. He says, I've never seen my pastor preach that hard. Spirit in the room.
He was getting after it.
We weren't physically there. And that was right before I had mentioned, Zoom. So he said, that's exactly what I did on Zoom. And as long as you let people know what the program is, they will be amenable. And then, of course, Augie hopping in and saying that Zoom would be great. My mom's saying our Zoom call lasted longer than 40 minutes. It did. I paid for the upgrade.
Every time.
I paid for the extra. So that way, I think it was like 2 hours long that we were there.
Most
hour and
of
a
our
half
groups,
maybe is what it was. Yeah.
Most of our groups have been the same way. And I just bought the Pro because it's like we just get to the good stuff about 40 minutes in.
Yeah, absolutely. So that would be something that can work. I've known people that have used Zoom and done a lot of stuff on Zoom, and they'll even just kind of take their login credentials and hand it off to somebody else so they can use it and facilitate it in the meantime. And so if we've got anybody in our church wanting to do stuff like that, that's probably what I'll do. If Zoom hears this and they give me a slap on the hand, well, then I apologize. But
they've got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah. I mean, it was like I saw a meme rolling around on the internet, and it was, like that Scooby-Doo, like where they reveal the evil villain, they pull off the mask. And
Zoom.
It said coronavirus, and then they pulled it off, and it was Zoom.
Saw that, brought to you by Zoom.
Yeah, and I was like, that's perfect. I mean, they're loving this. But at the same time, I mean, it's not like they did that, but it's a great solution. It really is a great platform to be able to use. So that's kind of one of the things that I love. As far as other things that I'm trying to figure out, a lot of the stuff we're kind of working through. I did with our sermon when I posted it online. I still think one of the best things that I decided to do for us was pre-record it. Yep. And then schedule it. So it's scheduled, and it's scheduled for the same start time we would normally do service. The only downside is that it's shorter than normal. I normally preach that 35-minute mark is where I'm aiming for my messages. When I'm doing vlog style and I'm taking out the ums and the uhs and the pauses and the waiting for the congregation, when you take out that, I'm down to like a 17, 18-minute TED Talk style length. And then I'm doing that first, like last week, right off the bat, we're getting straight to the message.
We did too.
And it's just like, boom, just hit the word, hit a ground running. And then I followed up the announcements at the end. I think the only other thing that I'm really going to have to try to figure out and focus on is making sure that our people are are feeling connected, because this is a moment where we're definitely feeling the disconnect for sure.
Right.
So, yeah, that's what I got.
It's good, man.
We covered a lot of stuff today.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
That was a solid one.
Well,
got any questions from anybody, or we're gonna call it?
I think it looks like, for the most part, we've been including everybody in on this so far, and they're kind of enjoying it. Other than Henry just saying that was a big cup of coffee, bigger than usual. What kind of day have you been having? I've been having this kind of day. This is number 3.
Look at the size of that thing. Look at the size of it.
Coffee tastes good.
Wow.
So, but yeah, for those of you that are listening to this replay, or if you're watching it or you're listening online, you can jump in, join us in the conversation. Like I said, at the top of the hour, we are going live right here on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Joshua Verwers. You can catch us Thursdays at about 10 a.m. Eventually, we will get very consistent at that. And don't forget to run over, check out, and subscribe to Jared's channel. You can find him at youtube.com/A Bite of Brownie. A Bite of Brownie. Don't
just
forget
one.
the A. Just one. You get one bite.
One snippet,
and
one bite.
That is it. So I think that's all we've got for you this week. Next week on the Vlog Pastors podcast, we're going to be kind of implementing a couple other little segments inside this show. And maybe third. Maybe we might have the Jason Mayfield tweet of the week. I don't know. We'll kind of think about that. But that's all we got for you guys. If you have any questions, if you have any topics or ideas that you would like us to discuss here on the Vlog Pastors podcast, go ahead and reach out to us. Let us know. You can find me on all of the socials, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, TikTok. Find me on all of them at Joshua Verwers. And you can also find Jared over there on pretty much everything, but you got a few different ones. Instagram at Bite of Brownie Productions. Facebook is Brownie Bite Productions. Are you active much on Twitter?
No, not at all.
Don't try to reach him on Twitter.
Don't come find me on Twitter. You'd be the first one. I can't even find myself on Twitter.
I think I found you at one point and sent you a message, and I'm still waiting for a reply.
Nah.
Something
You ain't
like
getting
that.
it. I don't understand Twitter. It's just like I don't understand TikTok.
Yeah.
Never got it.
So, there you be. That's it. Until next time, hey, I want you guys to stay blessed and enjoy God's best. And Jared,
I'm hoping that you just taste and see the extravagant love of God. That's what I want.
Amen. We'll see you guys next week right here on the Vlog Pastors Podcast.